What's up, everybody? It's Cole.
And Xavier.
And today, we're taking a look at the Transformers TCG again. But we're going to determine, out of Decepticons and Autobots, which side has the best faction, and is the other side getting shafted a bit. And, I mean, we've already come up with our...
Should we give that spoiler alert?
We're not going to.
Okay.
We're not going to. We'll let them know at the end. However, most people who play the game probably understand and know the answer already. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the battle cards. How well do those battle cards support their individual factions, and how well do those battle cards work with each other? First up, we have the Ion Blaster versus the Fusion Cannon. Ion Blaster, you can only put on Optimus Prime. It affords +2 power, +1 defense. Pretty solid. Can only be put on Optimus Prime, and now that swap parts is banned, you can't even swap it over to Nemesis Prime, because, I mean, in reality, that's what would happen a lot. If people were running the Ion Blaster, it would be swapped over to Nemesis, and then they'd put a second one on Optimus, and so you're just dealing a lot of damage. And then we have the Fusion Cannon of Megatron. While it is on Megatron, he has Pierce 3, and it only offers 1 power. I'd have to give this one to the Ion Blaster.
I kind of want to give it to Megatron, just because it does have that extra effect. Yes, it's only 1 power. No, it doesn't have the extra defense. But when you slap it on Megatron, almost any version you put it on, it's doing a whole lot of work. Not to say that the Ion Blaster isn't.
Yeah.
Good,
I mean, yeah. No. I understand what you're saying. I mean, my reasoning is because this definitely feels like a card that excels with the living weapon. He can be used with any Megatron, obviously, but I feel like with how they based it, it was intended to have like 1 or 2 of these on living weapons, since he can have 3 weapon slots, and so. I mean, yes, it's very good on Megatron regardless, but also the idea, if this ends up on a different bot for whatever reason, you're only getting an additional power.
That's fair. That is fair.
But honestly, we can say they're fairly even for this one. And then these really, at the same time, the upgrades, for the most part, do not combo with a lot of the other cards. It's mainly the actions that we'll be looking at, how they combo with each other. We have the Static Laser versus the Null Ray. The Null Ray, while it is on Starscream, he has Bold 2, and it offers power +1. And then the Static Laser, when the upgraded character is not Ironhide and it attacks, do 2 damage to it. And then it offers +3.
Ironhide.
The Static Laser of Ironhide is definitely the superior upgrade on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, Null Ray got a lot better with the Decepticon King. Null Ray got a lot better, but still, the Static Laser of Ironhide is by far the better one, because there's no, like... The only negative is you're getting 2 damage to your bot.
It fits in so many more decks.
It really does, because you ran that in Plains, correct? You ran the Static Laser of Ironhide in the Plains? Yeah, so it is by far the superior card. And then these are 2 cards that do not have an equivalent on the Decepticon side yet, or if they ever get one. We have the Matrix of Leadership, which is the one of 2 double colored cards that we had in Wave 1. We had this, and then we had Rollout. You put it on Autobots only, it affords a power, and then while it is on a leader, each of your other characters has +1 power and Pierce 1. And then you have the Agility of Bumblebee. While it is on Bumblebee and he attacks, draw a card.
I think Agility of Bumblebee became a relatively useless card pretty quickly. Yeah. Like, I was running it at 3 copies when I first built my original.
Well, because you were running Triple B.
Yeah, I was running Triple B, so it worked. But then a lot of times I wouldn't even put more than 1 agility on a character during the game. I'd have a different utility. Half the time it was Matrix of Leadership.
Yeah. And the Matrix of Leadership, I ran it in both Twin Primes and I ran it in Dinobots.
I was running it in my tanks just for the flips.
Well, for the flip, and that too. But I mean, in terms of like, because that's also something that we can take into account. But yes, the Matrix of Leadership is fantastic for all of those reasons. It's flips, it's leader requirement. Because now you're adding power and pierce to all your other characters. Because those characters don't even have to be Autobots. Just whatever Matrix is on has to be an Autobot.
Yeah.
Or you can only put it on there, you could swap it. And now we have the Decepticon crown.
All hail the king!
An argument could have been made to have compared this with the Matrix, but in reality, it's not really comparable to
They're doing two different things.
Yeah, they're doing two wildly different things. Now, if we would have had, like, the Dead Matrix, or the Matrix of, like, Unicron, because I believe that was, in a certain continuity, there was, like, a Matrix of Unicron or something like that, then that could have been comparable. But the crown is the card where the Autobot side has no comparable card to it.
Directly comparable.
Directly comparable. You can put it on Decepticons only. It is white and green, and when one of your Decepticons attacks, plan 1. Now, this can be played in any Decepticon deck, really, but once again, this excels with Decepticon King.
Yes.
This is really good with Decepticon King. And the crown you can technically say it combos well with Master Plan if you're playing the plan deck, just because of everything that you can do. But yeah, it's not offering any power, any defense. Not a bad card, but very niche. Underperforming. Yeah, niche and very underperforming compared to the exclusive style cards that the Autobots have.
Yeah.
Now we have Underhanded Tactics versus Field Repair. Field Repair, you repair 1 damage from one of your characters. If it's an Autobot, plan 1. Then you have Underhanded Tactics. Do 1 damage to an enemy. If it's KO'd this way, repair 1 damage from one of your Decepticons.
I think the good thing about both of these is that they can be used for any deck, even if you've got one in a team of another faction.
Yeah.
You just won't get the full effect.
Correct. And that's part of the thing too. So so taking into account that being played both within and without their faction, which would you give it to?
You know what? I want to say Underhanded Tactics, just because in several of my decks, I just like pinging damage one way or another. But also Field Repair, you can't shove your nose up at repairing a damage.
And see, I'm going to give it to Field Repair because you're repairing, but also I'm going to give it to it because of its orange pip.
Okay.
Simply because now if it's in your deck, if you draw it, great, you're repairing a damage from a key character, or if not, it's an orange. And unfortunately, what is happening is a lot of the game is headed towards the fast orange decks now. And so that is why I'm going to give it to Field Repair.
No, that brings up a bit of an interesting thing. So you don't see a whole lot of repair going on in decks, but the repair cards that you do see, they're either orange or they don't have an icon.
Yeah, because they'll repair like 1 from everything.
Yeah, but you don't really see any in blue.
No, and this is like the one that you see, if you're seeing it. And I haven't seen anybody really run these outside of their
I tried Underhanded Tactics, and it quickly came out of my deck.
And did you try that in tanks?
I did try it in tanks and planes.
Yeah, and because it's one of those things too where if you want to get the full effect out of the card if you're playing it, and to get the enemy into the sweet spot to deal 1 damage and KO it, it's kind of hard. I run it in Menasor and it works because occasionally I'll get them into that sweet area of 1, but other than that, like in a lot of your variety of decks, you're probably not going to hit that full effect often.
Yeah.
So Field Repair definitely takes the win. Confidence versus Swindled. Swindled, draw 2 cards, then scrap 2 cards from your hand. If you began the game with only Decepticons, you may play an upgrade. Confidence, draw 2, scrap 2. If you began the game with only Autobots, play an action.
Confidence.
Confidence.
And even when these two cards got revealed before Wave 2 came out, a lot of people were saying Confidence is way better.
It's because once again, because they're getting fast pace in orange, actions are definitely taking a high road to upgrades, just because there hasn't been anything to really change that. Now with the new Pierce icons and everything, that may change. We might see it turn back to a more balanced deck. But right now, a lot of the decks that you are seeing are very action orange heavy. And it doesn't matter if the deck wants to be played defensively or not. Like, everybody's building Orange Devastator, which personally I don't agree with. However, that's what they're doing because it works. But yeah, Confidence definitely takes the win simply because it plays an action. We have Nobles versus Scoundrels Blaster. There's no winner in this one.
Yeah, no, I can't.
There is no winner.
Oh, wait, let's look at it like this. When you see decks, what do you tend to see more of? A Decepticon team, an Autobot team, or a bit of a mix?
Mainly I see, well, it used to be a lot of singular Autobot Decepticons, save for Twin Primes. That was one of the first really multiple faction decks that we would see, because then a lot of it we would just pair together. Now you're seeing a little bit more, because you're seeing Thrust paired with RC and either Grimlock or Blitzwing, and you're seeing a lot of combiner pieces being put together outside of their combiners to get different effects. So however, either way you look at it, it's a good card even if you're not getting the Pierce 2. So, I mean, there's really...
I mean, because I wanted to say that depending on what way you're seeing decks are being built more, that's what you could say the opposite Blaster kind of has a one-up on the other one. Because technically you might start to see it get more use. But it's kind of iffy on that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Because the game, thank God, the game is... You can play any number of characters together, and as long as you're thinking properly when building your battle deck, the deck can win. So, I mean, there's really no solid distinction between the two of them. They are one of the first few that is the exact same both sides. Bad Attitude versus Press the Advantage. I'll tell you right now, Press the Advantage gets this one.
I'm also going to say Press the Advantage. Part of it is because I only have one copy of Bad Attitude, and I've not been able to really test it.
I have Bad Attitude in Menasor, and even then I can say Press the Advantage is better. And here's why. Bad Attitude, first of all, it has no emblem. Or, I mean, it has no colors. It's got no battle icons. You have to begin the game with Decepticons only. You repair 1 damage from each of your characters, and then you do 1 damage to each Autobot. You can be playing against a deck that has no Autobots. You're losing the second half of the effect. You cannot use this in split faction decks. Press the Advantage, you can do all of those things. Who cares if they don't have a Decepticon? You're still getting 2 power. And it's orange and green, so you can add it on flipping. Press the Advantage is definitely the better card, without a doubt. Bad Attitude's not bad. It's good. I like running Bad Attitude in combiner decks simply because they don't have that much health anyway. So, I mean, think of it this way. In your average combiner deck, in your average Decepticon combiner deck, you play that, you're recovering 5 or 6 damage off of your main combiner.
Yeah.
So that's not bad. But if there's no Autobot, you're not getting any extra benefit out of it. However, Press the Advantage, you're getting that benefit regardless of if they have a Decepticon or not.
So in Wave 3, do you think there's a chance we'll see a more equivalent for both of these? We'll see a good attitude and a...
Positive attitude. Positive attitude and exploit the weakness.
Exploit the weakness, yeah, that's a good one.
No, probably not.
You don't think so?
I do not think so.
I would like to think yes, just because some of the cards that were in
I would
Wave
like
1...
to point out one other reason why this is definitely superior right now.
Okay.
Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion was revealed. He does the thing with the actions that are both orange and blue.
Okay.
Alpha Trion with Optimus is going to be a hilarious action deck.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm going to build it. I want Alpha Trion. He's awesome.
I forgot what I was going to say, so go ahead.
Oh, that's my bad.
No, that's
okay.
okay.
We'll carry on to the next one then.
I remember now. I remember now. I think they've been doing pretty good just with set 1 and set 2. When set 1 came out, there were several cards that were in one color that didn't have like an equivalent in the other, and then some of those cards got their equivalent in Wave 2. So I would like to think that eventually everything will have a back and forth.
I would like to think that as well, but now that you have like the black icons and everything, if you get a similar effect, but now it's got a black icon, the old one's almost going to be, depending on the deck, it's going to be useless. You're not going to need it because, like I said, you already know my concerns about the black icon. Mm-hmm. That's an entirely different video.
Story for another day.
Combiner archetype cards. You have aerial bot formation. The upgrade character has +1 attack for each of your other tapped aerial bots. It cannot go on it. It cannot go on Superion. There would be no point for it to be on Superion, but
it is such a horrible card.
It's good before you combine.
It is good for maybe like those last 1 or 2 swings with your individual aerial bots, just to get a little more push for power.
And then, like, I mean, we can't really even... I mean, the Enigmas are all good in their own deck. You can't really... Comparatively, they're all on equal terms because they all do something specific to the deck that the Enigma is supposed to be played in. Mm-hmm. So you can't really say anything about the Enigmas. But the Builder's Tools for the Constructicons. The Constructicons have the Builder's Tool, puts the height counter on your tower, which is very important. Then they also have the Heavy Landing. It's 1 damage, but it's 3 if your tower is like 6 or higher, I believe it is. And then there were a few cards that came in the deck that aren't specific to the Constructicons, but the Constructicon's not bad, but it has to play. They have to play in Constructicons.
Their cards play really well into each other.
Yeah, they do. So the Constructicon deck is a very good entity within itself when you throw upgrades in it. Mm-hmm. But and there some of the other Decepticon cards you can put in there. Like, what was it? It was Swindled. You can do Swindled. And with Swindled, then you can get a free Builder's Tools off of that. Mm-hmm. And because then now you're drawing still, and you always want to have cards in your hand with Constructicons, because when you're attacking, if you want to get that height tower, you want to get that tower to 10 before you before you combine. So Swindled does pair very well with Builder's Tools, because now you can get a free Builder's Tools on there. If you've got 2 in hand, you play 1, play Swindled. Now, hey, guess what? Now there's another Builder's Tools on the field. Electrified Spikes for the Dinobots. The Dinobots got 3 cards of support in the first set, and...
Oh, only 2.
Was it only 2?
Yeah.
It was...
Dino Chomp. And,
Chomp. And the jaw.
You guys can't see it, but we're making jaw shapes with our hands.
Yeah, I know the one. I thought they had. Oh no, but it was one that had Dinobot on it, which is why it was a ramming speed.
Okay,
that's why I always thought it was a Dinobot card because it's got Grimlock bashing something with his head. But now you also have Electrified Spikes as well, and it plays very well into what the Dinobots want to do, which is heavy orange, and they've made it very easy to play a hybrid Dinobot, because Dino Chomp is blue anyway. Mm-hmm. To actually be able to play Volcanicus well enough, you have to put blue in there, so that way he lives long enough, and inverted obviously, but which really makes him last longer. But Now instead of with the Electrified Spikes, you're doing damage on your opponent's turn as well as your own turn, and I believe the Electrified Spikes also offers a defense. I can't remember.
It does 1, I believe.
1 defense. You have the Stunticons, where their only card is Swagger, which is a fantastic card.
Yeah, it's a great card.
Well, I mean, they have their Enigma, but like we already said, the Enigmas all do something properly to their deck that they want to do. Mm-hmm. Swagger's a fantastic card, and the Stunticons in and of themselves are seeing a lot of play outside of Menasor.
I think it was one of the matches we were playing, and you were using Menasor, and you hadn't even like combined in him yet, and you had a Swagger down.
And Swagger was just eating you.
Could not do any of my tough because I was playing tanks.
Yeah.
And it was horrible.
Yeah, and Swagger is a fantastic card, but it can't be used outside of anything that doesn't have any Stunticons in it.
Wouldn't Jetfire get past that with its flip ability?
Does Jetfire add... Yeah, he adds armor or utility?
Armor or utility, yes. Guys, we've cracked the code.
No, I don't think so, because... Like, with how it was ruled, Tech Research allows you to play the superior ones, but Jetfire says you may put from scrap onto him, but it can only be put on Stunticons.
Okay.
So I feel like, yeah, for the ones where you can put on such and such only, Jetfire cannot get... I believe Jetfire cannot get past these.
We are going to ask about that, because that might
we'll send that in. Or we don't even need to send it in, we just need to look specifically at how they ruled Jetfire's ability to work, and then we can draw a conclusion from that, hopefully, if it's clear enough.
Because that would be pretty interesting if you can...
that would be.
Do some of that.
Tooth and Claw, you put on Predacons only, and the upgraded character can have a weapon or armor in its armor slot. I honestly haven't even seen people playing Predaking. I've looked at a lot, like, because with all the channels that we watch that do Transformer stuff, I haven't seen much Predaking at all.
There's actually a lot more channels than you would think.
But I understand that, but like because I'll like watch one and then I'll bounce around to a few others. I haven't seen Predaking much. I've seen Maximus more than Predaking. That upsets me.
There were several videos in the beginning, but yeah, I think you're right. They've kind of petered out.
Everybody had really cool ideas for a Predaking deck, but nobody wanted to play it. And I mean, it's just one of those things where I think it's the hardest part is because his big ability allowing 5 weapons. How are you going to get 5 weapons on him before he like dies? Especially when you've got to contend with your opponent trying to get them off of him. You've got to contend with because in Predacons you want to run Grenade Launcher. Now you got to keep Grenade Launcher on there long enough.
I feel like your deck has to be completely upgrades and cards that place upgrades.
Yeah,
like
it can't have anything that has nothing to do with upgrades.
That's the only way I see you getting that full 5 plus Tooth and Claw for that.
I mean, you can still get mileage out of 2 or 3 upgrades on Predaking, but if you can't can't fully fulfill the effects of a character, then I mean, why would you use it? Mm-hmm. And then you have combat commands, which is actually probably, other than Builder's Tool, and so out of the top 3 of the Combiner archetype cards, Builder's Tool, Swagger, and combat commands. Because combat commands, I still am not that big of a fan of Maximus, but it does what the Sentinels want to do very well.
What they need to do.
It's a white too, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
I like that they also didn't make like any of these green. They made the Enigmas green, but not any of these, which really helped. But yeah, when the upgrade character attacks, you flip a Sentinel in your KO area from bot mode to alt mode. If you do, then flip it back to bot mode. It does what they want to do so well. And because now you're getting your flipping to alt mode effects, and then it's going back into bot mode. It is a fantastic card for that specific Combiner archetype.
Now, out of the 6 of these, who do you think does better, the Autobot teams or the Decepticon teams?
I would say the Autobot teams. And my reasoning for that is I think the best thing that the Decepticons had going for them was the Swagger. But in the last rules roundup, they had confirmed that, so it was Metroplex has an upgrade on him that gives him bold, and he's got a debilitating crystal. They play the Titan card that gives him an additional bold 4. Metroplex attacks, debilitating crystal, bounces Swagger back to hand. Since Swagger is no longer on the field, bold goes through. So it's only a lockdown for as long as that is on the field. It's not that Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't negate it. It's just you can't. Oh, and you also can't use it against the upgraded character either. You can still use it against every other character.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to say the Autobots on this one.
Okay. I'm thinking it's kind of even. For Autobots, you have electrified spikes and combat commands that are their two good ones.
But we're also talking about, like, you also have to take into account, like, with the Dinobots, you're also counting the other Dinobot upgrades that we already have. And with Builder's Tools, you're also counting, like, the two other specific, like, height counter cards for the Constructicons. So it's not just the upgrades that we're looking at, but the entire Combiner archetype.
I'm looking at just the upgrades.
You're looking at just the upgrades. Now, see,
upgrades.
I'm discussing not just these, but the entire Combiner archetype card set. Because Dinobots have 3. The Constructicons, they have the one that's specifically to Constructicon, but then they have, like, I believe it's one, or I know for sure there's one, but I believe it's 2 other cards that depend on the height of your tower.
Okay.
As well. So the entire list of cards that fall within the Combiner archetype is what we're looking at here.
Well then, okay, well no, never mind, because I was about to say, then looking at Stunticons with their vehicle types as well, are we going to include that into the equation?
We are not counting that because we are counting things specifically for the faction, and the reason we are counting the height towers and the Dinobots is because there's nothing that relies on the height counters in the Autobot side, and there's no Dinobots on the Decepticon side.
Okay.
Which is why we can technically classify those as faction-specific cards.
Okay. Then I'll give it to the Autobot faction.
Yeah. Now, but go ahead and state the argument that you were going to. If we were just looking at the upgrades here.
I was going to say it'd be a good 50-50 split for me.
I would agree to that.
Just because off of the Autobot side of the teams, Electrified Spikes, Combat Commands, they're both really good. Aerial bot
you
formation,
basically have one useless one on both sides.
Yeah, you have a useless one on both sides.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
If aerial bot formation gave a +1/+2 attack, like just solid,
yeah,
then it'd be decent, because then it can transfer over to Superion. He can use the card, but he can't use the team upgrade.
Yeah,
everyone else can. Well, no, not for combat commands, but
I mean. Yeah, because once he's in Combiner mode, you're losing the point of the upgrade in and of itself.
What are you doing in there?
Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, too far. There we go. Metroplex. Because he's got those 2 faction-specific cards. Mm-hmm. It was height advantage to give him bold 4. Because that one's specifically Titan. So
yeah.
I'm still holding out that hopefully we'll get a Decepticon Titan. And then if they don't want to do Titans anymore, that's fine. But I feel like both factions should have a Titan.
I'm holding on to that card just for the hopes that we do get that other Titan.
Rally the City. If you have Metroplex on the battlefield, draw a card for each character you have on the battlefield. That can be really good, especially if you are protecting his little people well enough that you can... Bare minimum, you're drawing 2. And that's never a bad thing, drawing 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bare minimum, you're drawing 1, but hopefully you're playing this while you have one of his little helpers on the field.
In most cases, it's not too hard to have 2 of them.
Exactly. Metroplex and 1 other, and then you can have 3, and I think I've even had all 4 on the battlefield before. And then you have Protected by Metroplex. If the upgraded character would take damage, instead your Metroplex takes that damage. Also very good, because it's hard enough to eat through Metroplex as it is, so if you can get a character out, equip it with the Protected by Metroplex, it's going to last quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all... I mean, you don't play Metroplex, I do. I still like Metroplex. I recently upgraded the deck, and I only swapped 2 things out, because in all of Wave 2, there was only 1 card that I felt like really should go in there. And it was heavy-handed.
Okay.
I didn't feel like anything else really was good enough to take anything that was already in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But those are all the faction-specific cards we have.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, Decepticons have been shafted 2 sets in a row.
Not only in card ability, but also in card number.
Yeah. Now, we're not saying Decepticons aren't great, because as far as what they've been doing with the characters, the most powerful character in Wave 1 was Nemesis Prime. Slipstream, if you're counting the Comic-Con exclusives, because Slipstream and Cliffjumper belong to Wave 1, so the Decepticons got the 2 most powerful characters and most sought-after characters in Wave 1. Wave 2, the most sought-after character, at least as far as pricing and everything goes, is Starscream, because a lot of people really like that Starscream. I mean, and then you have Windblade, who is taking the second highest top spot, but she is dropping. Starscream's staying pretty stagnant, so you can kind of base it off of like their pricing range and everything. However, Blitzwing is placing above Springer, and it's definitely because Blitzwing has more versatility. Their Decepticons are getting great characters, but Autobots are also getting great characters that can equal or slightly underperform or slightly overperform than the characters that the Decepticons are also getting. So,
but when you think about it, that kind of mirrors several of the Transformers series in a good way. I mean, in most of the cases, the Decepticons, they're bigger, they're stronger, they've got more weapons, they are technically better, but then Autobots always have some form of new equipment that they build or just acquire.
And yes, I mean, if you're taking the lore into account, yes, it makes sense, but it really hurts a lot of players who
it does.
Who are hardcore Decepticon fans, because
me,
Xavier. I mean, I'm a hardcore Autobot fan, but like at first in the first wave, there weren't really any Decepticon. The only Decepticon that I played was Nemesis Prime. He was the only one that was worth it. And then Wave 2, they introduced Menasor, and I thought Menasor was pretty cool, and I wanted to play him. And then Devastator, who's my favorite combiner, next to Volcanicus. But if we're talking like original combiners, it's definitely Devastator. He was cool.
Still waiting for Bruticus.
You might get Bruticus
and Tarn,
but the problem that there is right now is, I feel like for the most part, Autobots are definitely seeing favoritism, and that's definitely, it's not a big hurt to the player base, but if it continues like this, a lot of the players who only play Decepticons, they might drop off the game. Yeah, they're not going to play it if they don't get stuff that make their decks better. You have any last thoughts? Like serious thoughts?
No. At the moment, no. I have a few, but they're not solid, and I kind of want to say, let's wait for Wave 3 and see what happens.
But I mean, we're not saying that they're always going to be, but this was definitely something that you pointed out probably somebody needed to talk about. Because, I mean, people are, like, commenting and everything, but I don't think there's been, like, a solid video.
I have not seen one.
And it's definitely something that needed addressed. And it's not fair, but for right now, we have to live with it.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, once again, this was Cole.
And Xavier.
And we'll see you next time.
Transformers.